All right, everybody. Dead metal. Hopefully you watched my first video on how the Xbox Series X has already won the upcoming war with the PlayStation 5. If you have not, stop this video. Go check it out. This is a direct continuation of my last video. Now, let's talk about why the PlayStation 5 is anti-consumer. The problem is that library that you've built and accumulated over time is only going to go back one generation. Let me explain what Sony is trying to do, how they're trying to manipulate you into paying for shit you've already paid for. Check this out. You buy a whole bunch of PlayStation 2 games back in 2001 through 2005. You buy a shitload of PlayStation 3 games from 2006 through 2013. You've got this massive library of these games that you could play. Now, if you got a first-gen PS3, you can play all the PS2 games. Other than that, you still have to keep the PS2 around. That, in and of itself, is bad enough. But what they're doing with the PlayStation 5 is 10 times worse. First and foremost, PlayStation 4 games. They're not being clear, but one of two things is happening. Either only 100 PS4 games are going to work at launch on the PlayStation 5, or 100 PS4 games are getting boosted up and are actually going to perform tangibly, noticeably better. Either way, it's anti-consumer. Here's why. Xbox Series X, you know what they're doing? They're going back through their entire catalog, not just of one generation. They're not pulling this Sony hypocritical bullshit and only doing one generation. They're going back all the way to OG Xbox. And they are making a list of as many games as they can where they're jacking the fucking frame rate through the roof. They're smoothing out the textures, upping the resolution, adding HDR to games from fucking 2001 when HDR wasn't even a concept. Sony's over here struggling to get the PlayStation 4 games running at a higher clock speed on their fucking CPU and the PS5. The level of incompetence here cannot be measured. It is not statable. I do not understand where Sony is struggling. They've got the manpower. They can spend the money and engineer their fucking system to emulate PS3, PS2 games, but they're not going to do it. They're not even going to fathom doing it. Do you know why? I'll give you a minute. Take a minute to think about this. It's a fucking PlayStation Now service. You know what these motherfuckers are doing? They want you to pay. You can't even buy the games. You have to pay a subscription fee to stream PlayStation 3 games. That entire collection you have of PlayStation 3 games, you have two options. Haul your fucking ancient-ass PlayStation 3 out of the basement. Mine's sitting in the basement, hasn't been turned on in about 5 years. Haul it up out of your basement or your closet, plug it in, and look at your glorious 720p, often sub 720p image on your 4K TV. Or, for convenience, you pay them a monthly subscription fee to access games you already own. You can't buy them outright. You're relying on the internet and their service streaming it to you. And there's so much goddamn input lag, you can barely fucking aim in a first-person shooter game. I tried playing Killzone 2. That shit is unplayable. I cannot imagine playing a game through PlayStation Now. The only thing that is feasible is the download feature. And if Sony offered the download feature on PlayStation 3 games, it would still be anti-consumer. They're forcing you to pay and download games you already own. It's ridiculous. It is beyond ridiculous. This company is greedy. They're full of scumbag motherfuckers with dollar signs in their eyes. Meanwhile, Microsoft and the Xbox, well, they have not been a perfect company, and they fucked up hardcore with the launch of the Xbox One between the Kinect and the used games bullshit. They learned from their mistakes. What did we talk about in my last video? We said Sony repeats themselves. They get confident, they reach the top of the mountain in a generation, and then they have a fall from grace. Now, I am a fan of competition. Competition is good. If Sony needs to keep repeating this cycle, that's going to keep healthy competition in the video game console space. So on one hand, everything I'm discussing may be better for the gaming industry, but on the other hand, it sucks if you're a diehard PlayStation fan. First off, brand loyalty is a ridiculous concept in and of itself, but if Sony has the games that you want, Honestly, at this point, you're better off not supporting them because they do best when they're making a comeback. They get complacent, they get comfortable, and they end up making anti-consumer business decisions that result in fucking you, the consumer, over in the name of the almighty dollar. Buy yourself an Xbox Series X when it launches. Down the road, if you're a Sony fan, most of their fucking games are coming to the PC anyway. They don't have exclusives that are not going to be coming to the PC. So you're better off just waiting. But if you can't wait, give it a year or two, buy a secondhand PlayStation 5 so that Sony sees $0 of the profits, buy your game secondhand so they see none of the sales, and speak with your wallet. You'll still get to play the games without supporting these ridiculously archaic, outdated, anti-consumer, greedy business decisions like charging you for games you already fucking own. Search your heart, you know it's true. Series X, if you got a hard copy of old Xbox games, throw that in your fucking system, it's gonna fucking work. Xbox Series X, you feel like playing some Dead Space from the 360 era, you throw that shit in there, chances are it might even have an unlocked frame rate, it's gonna look better than it did on the 360, and it's gonna have HDR support on the Series X. You know what I'm saying is true.